everyone, it's been a while since I've made a longer Speedpaint video, and honestly I don't even know if anyone's going to see this. My engagement has been pretty low lately, and every time I think about posting again, there's always that little voice in my head saying, what's the point if nobody watches it? But I'm not saying this out of pity, but whatever. I wanted to make this video anyway, so today I'm drawing Luka Couffaine from Miraculous Ladybug. He's not actually my favorite character, but I do like him as a character, and I thought he'd be fun to draw. While working on this piece, I've been thinking a lot about university, adulting, and how weird it feels to be growing up. As an art student, it feels like life is constantly moving. There's always another project, another deadline, another thing to have to worry about. And then on top of that, you have chores, responsibilities, and the pressure of figuring out your future. And somehow, in the middle of that, I'm still obsessed with this show. Which is funny because when I was younger, I thought that by the time I reached university, I'd have completely outgrown fandoms, fictional characters, fan art, and all of that stuff. Here I am, drawing a character from a show that I am still obsessing with. The older I get, the more I realize that growing up doesn't mean becoming a completely different person. You don't suddenly stop liking things just because you're an adult. You just learn how to make room for them alongside everything else. So that's what I wanted to talk about today: university, adulting, growing up, and why I think it's okay to hold on to the things that makes you happy. So let's start with university. I don't know if anyone else feels this way, but university has been very different from what I imagined when I was younger. When I was in high school, I thought university students had everything figured out. I thought they were so mature, super organized, and knew exactly what they wanted to do with their lives. Now that I'm actually here, I realize it's not true at all. Most of us are just trying our best. As an art student, especially, it sometimes feels like there's always something to do. There's always another schoolwork, another projects, another deadline coming up. Sometimes I finish one thing and immediately remember 3 other things that I still need to work on. And the funny thing is that people see art and think it's relaxing all the time. Don't get me wrong, I love drawing. If I didn't, I probably wouldn't choose this major in the first place. But drawing for school and drawing for yourself can feel completely different. Sometimes you're spending hours trying to make a project work. Sometimes you're staring at your canvas wondering why nothing looks right. Sometimes you're running on little sleep because a deadline is approaching and you're still not finished on your piece. I think one thing university taught me is how important time management is. And honestly, I'm still learning. There are days when I tell myself I'm going to be productive, finish everything early, stay organized, maybe even have my life together. And then somehow it's already midnight, I still have things to do, and I'm wondering where all my time went. I think that's one of the biggest surprises about growing up. Nobody really tells you how much responsibility starts piling up. It's not just school anymore. You have chores, you have laundry, you have cleaning, you have errands, you have relationships to maintain, you have responsibilities outside of academics, and somehow you're expected to balance all of it. There are moments when I feel like I'm doing okay, and then there are moments when I feel completely overwhelmed. But I guess that's the part of the experience. If there's one thing I've realized from being in university, it's that nobody has everything this is happening, I still find myself making time for things I've loved for years. Speaking of growing up, I think one of the weirdest things I've realized is that becoming an adult isn't something that just happens overnight. When I was younger, I thought there would be this moment where I suddenly feel like an adult. Like I'd wake up one day, have everything figured out, know exactly what I wanted to do, and be responsible all the time. But that's not what it feels like at all. Most days I still feel like I'm figuring things out as I go. One minute I'm stressing over university deadlines, and the next I'm trying to remember if I already did my laundry, which is I kept on procrastinating. Whether I clean my room, that also I am still procrastinating because my room is a mess right now, or if I'm forgetting something important. No one really tells you that adulting isn't one huge event. It's a bunch of small responsibilities that slowly pile up. It's doing your own laundry, it's washing the dishes after a long day even when you're tired, it's cleaning your space because someone else is going to do it for you, it's trying to manage your time so you can finish your schoolwork and still have a little time for yourself. Sometimes it honestly feels like there aren't enough hours in the day, and I think that's something I've struggled with as an art student too. After spending so much time and energy on school projects, it can be hard to find motivation for personal art or even just relaxing without feeling guilty. I used to think that if I wasn't being productive every second, then I was wasting time. But lately, I'm starting to realize that's not true. Rest is important too. Making time for hobbies is important too. You don't have to earn the right to enjoy yourself after you check off every single task on your list. Because honestly, the list never really ends. There's always another assignment, another deadline, another responsibility waiting for you. So if you keep telling yourself, I'll enjoy hobbies later might never come. I definitely don't have everything figured out yet, and I don't think most people my age do either. We're all just learning how to balance responsibilities with the things that makes us happy, and I think that's one of the biggest lessons university has been teaching me so far. And I think that brings me to something I've been thinking about a lot lately. When you're growing up, it almost feels like there's this expectation that you're supposed to leave certain interests behind, like cartoons, fandoms, fanart, or games. I remember thinking that by the time I will reach university, I'd probably stop caring about all of that. I'd be too busy trying to become a real adult. But honestly, that's not what happened. If anything, I appreciate those hobbies even more. This drawing of Luka is a good example. He's not my favorite character in Miraculous, but I've always liked him. I think he's such a calm and comforting character, and I just felt like drawing him. And that's actually something I've been missing lately, drawing just because I want to. Most of the time, I'm either drawing for university or working on commissions. I'm really grateful that people trust me enough to commission my art, and it's honestly such an amazing feeling that something I love doing can also help me earn a little while I'm also studying. I think this is why I still enjoy drawing fan art every now and then. It's different from drawing for school or commissions. There's no pressure to meet someone else's expectation or follow a rubric. I can just sit down and draw a character because I feel like it. And while I was working on this piece, I started realizing that maybe that's something adulthood has taught me. Your hobbies don't disappear, they just become something you have to make time for. I think a lot of my worries lately have been about the future. Sometimes I worry about failing university. I worry about whether I'm good enough, whether I'll be able to keep up with everything, or whether all the hard work I'm putting in will eventually pay off. And then there are financial worries. University isn't cheap, and being an art student comes with its own expenses. There are times when I wonder if I'm doing enough or if I'll be able to achieve the goals I've set for myself. Maybe that's something a lot of university students don't really talk about. On top of trying to get good grades, you're also thinking about your future, your career, and whether everything you're doing right now will eventually be worth it. Sometimes those thoughts get really overwhelming, and honestly, I think that's why I've been trying to make more time for hobbies again. Not because I'm avoiding responsibilities, but because they remind me that there's more to life than constantly worrying. Anyway, I think I've talked enough about university and everything that's been happening in my life. Let's actually talk about the drawing now, because that's probably why some of you clicked on this video in the first place. So, this is Luka Couffaine from Miraculous. He's not my favorite character, but I've always thought he was a really well-written and comforting character. I don't know, there's just something about his calm personality that I actually like, and I felt like drawing him. I think I've said this earlier in the video, but yeah. This piece was also meant to be a painting practice. I've been wanting to improve my rendering lately, especially when it comes to lighting, skin, and hair, so I decided to challenge myself instead of rushing through it. Unfortunately, I forgot to record the sketch. I don't know how that happened, but by the time I realized it, I was already applying the base colors. When I first started this piece, I actually had a completely different idea in mind. Originally, I wanted a much darker background. I was imagining something more dramatic and maybe that would make Krita stand out even more. But the longer I looked at it, the more I felt like this doesn't really feel like Luka. It wasn't that the dark background looked bad, it just didn't match the feeling I wanted the artwork to have. So I decided to trust my instincts and change the entire direction of the piece. I did not include to record the duels of those stars and those little music notes. I just noticed it. But anyway, while looking at the footage of me finishing this drawing right now, I'm honestly glad I changed my mind, since I think the lighter colors fit Luka's personality so much better. The blue and gray tones make everything feel calm, while the stars and music notes give it a dreamy feeling without distracting the portrait itself. And I think that's everything I wanted to share for today. If you made it this far, thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. I hope this video reminds you that it's okay to grow up without outgrowing the things that make you happy. So I'm just gonna leave the rest of the Speedpaint to play it all by themselves. Also, take care, keep creating, and hopefully I'll see you in my next Speedpaint. Bye guys!